Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing great. In the part one of this podcast series with Tim Esse, we discussed his entire journey from where he was to where he is now, the challenges he had to overcome, and the mindset that he created for himself to do so. We also talked about the various phases in a recruitment cycle. In part two, let us get to know more about what he considers as some of the sought after skills, some of the sought after domains rather in 2021, and what he believes to be, to be successful leader in today's era, and also more about how to get past the ATS. I'm certain you're all waiting for more such knowledge. Why wait? Let's jump into a conversation with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving on, Tim, so as a recruiter at Growth by Design Talent, your present organization, so what does your typical day look like?
It usually part of the day is spent looking for candidates. So it's like who do I think could recruit for my different clients? And the nice thing is that for me is that I'm not paid when someone gets hired. So I can really work hard to find the right person, go into the right organization, and if it's not a fit, I don't have to try to jam someone in there just to make sure I can make money. Um, Someone's got to make money somewhere in the chain. That doesn't fall on me. So, my goal is to reach out to people and see if what I have is something that's going to work for them. So, again, if it's not, I was telling someone yesterday, I go, I'll be really transparent. If this isn't a fit, I'll just tell you, and we'll look for something else later because I don't want to waste anyone's time because there's no upside to it for anybody to get you somewhere that you're going to quit in 3 months because it's not a fit. So I spend a fair amount of time looking for people, and then it's outreach, hoping to get them to respond because a lot of people are happy where they're at. And God bless them. I mean, that's a great thing. If you really like where you're at and it meets your needs, that's wonderful. And there's a lot of great companies out there right now. I think there's probably more interesting companies out there that do well for their people in a long time. I mean, it's maybe ever. So it is a challenge. I mean, to get people to look at something different. I mean, it's like what motivates them to change, and then it's interviewing them and trying to make a selection if they're going to be a fit for what I have today. And so I probably have access to a dozen openings. We don't try to work with a million people. So it's, we have a select number of clients that we're working with. And, if it's something that's not a fit now, you save them in your back pocket for later when you do have something that's a fit. And then it's, helping the companies that are hiring try to see the value in that person you're sending them. So
Wow.
I like it. It's really interesting. I've been doing it for a while, but it's the startups are all different and they all have a viewpoint of how they're improving something and just seeing that move forward. And it's crazy right now. I mean, you'd think that COVID stuff would be really slow, but it's booming. It's booming. A lot of the
Fantastic.
startup, and there's more new ones coming along every day. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah, it's a good
That's
thing.
great
To
news.
drive the economy. So.
That's great news. Yes, to drive the economy. Yes, that's great news. In fact, and it's really nice to know that there's no forced fit, like you mentioned. It's really it's heartwarming to know that there's no forced fit, and because over the the months that they are in that role, if it's a forced fit, then there's no fulfillment.
Right. Exactly. And it's especially for the recruiter role, once you've got some experience, you've got choices a lot of times where, especially if you're like have a technical expertise or something that's really in demand. I mean, they have a choice of where they want to go. And so it's trying to find that best fit for them and make sure it works for the company too. You don't want, sending someone that's going to just be a boat anchor and you have to do the search over in a couple of months anyway. So
Right.
it's just trying to make a happy match.
That's nice. So, would you also take care of employer branding in any case?
There are people, I mean, I think everyone should be involved in employer branding, so it's, how are you representing your company on LinkedIn? That's probably the most easiest one, just because there's so many employees out there. But that can apply to, Marion marketing. What is she posting articles about your company? Does she know how to do that properly so it reflects well on your company? So I think that everyone should be involved in that. And there's some tools out there for it, but yeah, it's, but having said that, there are people, the partners of Growth by Design, they're more involved in that from a corporate scale than I am, for sure. Again, I'm pretty new there, so I'm trying to be really conservative and safe, because I don't want to do something that's out of what they see the brand as. So maybe later.
Makes sense. That's really nice. So, Tim, you have won numerous awards right from the beginning of your journey. It would be really enlightening for all of us to know more about that.
So a lot of those were at where I started recruiting. It was a direct sales company, and recruiting is definitely a piece of it. And I just, my thinking then was, if it took one call or 10 calls to hire one person, I'd make 100 calls to hire 10 people. And I think that, especially early on in your career, it's very easy to worry about someone saying, I'm not interested, or no. And as you progress, you start to learn that, either you're not presenting the opportunity correctly, or it's quite frankly not a fit. It's not, where I was doing, it was financial services. Not everybody wants to help sell life insurance, and it's okay if people say no. I talk to people every day that aren't interested in what I have to offer, and because they like where they're at, they don't want to change, whatever the reason is. And that's okay for people to say no, and it's okay for you to ask. Now, you don't want to call the same person every day for 5 weeks or anything like that. But so it's just, and a lot of people where I was at, where I won the awards, really weren't focused on that being a part of their business. They're more interested in, maybe selling insurance itself, as opposed to bringing other people into the business. So that focus worked out for me, because I was able to move, leverage that experience into recruiting for the high volume retail wireless people, and then into Best Buy, and then into Apple, and then Apple to here. So a lot of it was just, so a lot of it was just, that was my interest. And so I was more interested in it than other people were, I guess. It's not like you can talk to my coworkers, I'm not like some super wizard or anything like that. It's just that, just like I have a fairly decent amount of interaction with people and engagement on LinkedIn. And it's not because I'm some media wizard thing. It interests me, the reaching, doing stuff to drive people to be interested in taking a look at my opportunities and keeping them involved. That interests me. So maybe I do that more and differently than a lot of people. And, at Apple, 3 years straight, I had the most engagements through LinkedIn Elevate, which is a publishing tool that LinkedIn has.
Okay.
Than anyone else at Apple. 3 years straight, double number 2. Is it because it was necessarily better? Maybe a little bit, but it just interested me. It was something I could track. It was, I could see my name on the chart. It fed my ego, all those kind of things. And so, so I won that award, but 3 years straight. So, it was clearly something that I enjoyed. And I think that was the big difference, is I enjoyed doing it, whereas other people saw it as sort of a pain, a piece of the job they didn't want to do. So
it talks a lot about your dedication and commitment, going that extra mile. Wow, but that's fantastic. So this entire pandemic situation, how has it affected recruitment over industries? You mentioned that surprisingly there are way too many startups or other companies which are now recruiting for different positions, and that it's booming. Um, there was definitely a lull period in between. Now, is it across industries that it's growing for all positions, or how?
I'd say, yeah, I'd say no. I don't think it's everywhere yet because, not everywhere is open. I mean, and I'll use Minnesota versus Texas, and I'll try not to get political about it, but like in Minnesota, we're still relatively closed as far as like restaurants. I mean, I think they might have opened the other day a little bit, but so there are people there that are still out of work, or there's people still in, and it's really killed retail in a lot of instances. So there's a lot of people from retail that are out of work, and some of those companies may or may not come back, after this. So it's hard to say. But if you look at, I have to imagine that, Walmart and Target are still hiring a lot of people. If you go to Texas, they're much more open. And so I think that they're hiring in a lot broader range of positions, restaurant, hospitality. Will they stay open? I don't know. We've seen it in some areas where being open ends up not such a good thing. So we'll see. Hopefully everyone's healthy from it. But so those areas I think might be challenged for a while. Are there restaurants that won't reopen? I think we've seen that. So, those areas could be tough. There could be people that, that are impacted for a long time. In other areas like startups, which is a real generic term, it could be a lot of different things, but if it's, people, there's a lot of fintech that's growing. There's a lot of consumer-based front-end kind of stuff that's growing. Those areas are really popping. It's someone was talking to me the other day that they just are seeing it, a lot of it, booming. And it's the nice thing now versus say during the .com boom area is that a lot of these people that are opening these places are in their third or fourth startups. Okay. And so they know what they're doing. They've been through it before. Profitability is a bigger deal now than it used to be, or at least seeing that it's going to be profitable. So that's a lot bigger deal. So I think in my mind, and I have no economics background, but it seems a lot more healthy now. Just because, and they're not growing stupidly. They're not just adding people to get headcount, or they're not giving away, bags of dog food to get customers or anything that used to happen. So there are certainly those areas that are growing. Generic corporate, I don't know. I've seen more postings for start to respond for recruiters. So there's a guy in Minnesota that posts recruiting jobs that are opening, corporate recruiting jobs that are in Minnesota that are open, and those have started to grow really since the first year. So like around the first year, there'd be like 3 openings for corporate recruiters, and now it's probably closer to 20. So people are coming back. It's, I'm hopeful. I'm getting my first vaccine shot on Friday, so I'm excited about that. But I think that, as that rolls out, they're claiming by the end of May, everyone should have it in the US anyway. And, someone told me they work at a larger company in Minnesota, and their corporate office is going to reopen like September 1st. And they'll do some kind of staggered thing, and people may or may not have to go back. And, other companies have announced we're never opening up our offices again. They've figured out ways to work from home permanently. And so that'll be something out there too. What happens to all this office real estate? I don't know.
Oh, that's a completely different discussion. And
I don't have any knowledge of that.
Yes, we see that happen here as well in India.
Okay.
What I would like to know from you is that what are the most sought after domains in 2021?
In some ways, I'll say it's more of the same, just because it's, we're seeing like a lot of recruitment for tech recruiters, which means that they're going to be hiring technical people. And what exact skills that sets that those people are recruiting for might have changed some. I'm seeing a lot more people hire sales recruiters now,
Yeah.
because they're realizing that you have to sell something. Eventually someone has to sell something. It's great to come up with these wonderful ideas, but if there's no profit involved, you can't stay in business for too long. And so that's become a bigger deal. Um, and then there's, just logistics is getting to be bigger, especially after COVID. People have really realized that, you might not want to have all your eggs in one basket as far as your suppliers. And so that's a big thing too. So, I mean, those are one area that was interesting, that when I was at Apple, I would share openings that I wasn't recruiting for, but the ones that got the most interest almost were the artificial intelligence machine learning jobs. It just had a lot of people interested in those. And so I think that that's getting to be a bigger and bigger deal. And I know another recruiter that is that's his area, and he said that it's growing. I mean, I don't know that much about that area, so I'm sure there's people that are listening to this and watching it that know a lot more about that than I do. But it's certainly an area that's booming in for a lot of companies because they're seeing some value there.
Absolutely, yeah. That's great news. And so, if somebody is aspiring to get into their dream job, how do they get past the ATS? Something that everybody really wishes for. I mean, for us to even get past 8 years and then for the resume to be viewed by a human, it takes a lot, and everybody knows that.
So I think one thing people undervalue, quite frankly, is luck. So,
really? Okay.
I think luck can be a big part of it, but then you have to have the other pieces that support being lucky. So you have to have, if required, the educational background, the experience. It doesn't do any good for a recruiter to look at your resume if you don't have any of the things that they really need for that job. So, I mean, I would have candidates reach out to me and say, hey, I really want to work, as a iPhone designer, or, we'll use that one as an iPhone designer. I'm like, you're freshman in college. You have no work experience. You don't have the schooling, which, there might be an internship out there. There might be something, but it's like, part of it is it's a competitive process too. So your resume might be being seen, but they've also looked at 20 other people that have what you do, plus this whole other layer of experience. And especially with, the slowdown in the economies from COVID, there's a lot of really good people out there right now. So it's kind of like sports, everyone wants to go play in the NFL right away, the football league or the Major League Baseball. But no, you have to start out like in grade school and learn, and hone your craft to get to where you can work at a Google or a Facebook or, Apple or wherever. So it's, so there's that side of it, but it's, the ATS thing is a trick. A lot of places though, what I found is that the recruiters or sourcers in many instances, they're actually going out into the ATS and they're searching for people. So they're not waiting for the ATS to spit them candidates. I haven't talked to anyone that has that. It's like, I turn on my computer in the morning and I've got 10 great candidates waiting for me that went through the ATS. You're searching for keywords, you're searching for maybe specific schools or for experiences. Looking at those candidates and go, who's going to be fit for these different roles. So I think it works different than what a lot of people imagine. I mean, for a while now, there's always been this AI is going to remove the recruiter. We're not going to need them because AI is going to do this. And I haven't seen that happen yet. And I probably never will because I'm old enough. But so there's but if you start planning ahead, what is the old saying? The best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. You want to start, if you're in college now, or even beforehand, you're looking at college, it's like, what do I want to be? Oh, I want to be a programmer at Google. Well, go into LinkedIn and search for programmers in Google, see where they went to school, see what kind of jobs they had, and start to replicate that. Because if you go to a school where Google's never hired anyone from, it's gonna be hard to get their attention. I mean, maybe it happens, I don't know, but it's it's a lot harder, especially in those technical fields where it's like we hire 5 finance people from these 5 colleges. If you want to be one of those employees, you better go to one of those 5 colleges. So let's say you're past that and you're working, it's, what are these people doing, or what have they done that got them to that job? And how can I start to replicate that a little bit and get that background for me? It's hard to go to a lot of these big companies as your first job out of college. It certainly happens because I'm at big UR teams, but for a lot of people, it's real. So what are these steps you're going to take to get in there eventually? So I think that's one thing. Is really, it's like training for a marathon. What do you have to do to get ready to be successful on race day? And start prepping it. Be on LinkedIn, connect to recruiters for the companies that you want to work for, connect to other people that have the jobs you want eventually. If you're in school or recent, reach out to alums that have that job that you want and just say, hey, and a lot of people are helpful. A lot of people want to help. Hey, I'm just about to graduate. I graduated a couple of years ago. I'd really like to end up doing XYZ like you do. What would you recommend, or how did you get hired? A lot of times it's, I'll see for internships especially, how to get an internship with, your company. Well, apply, first of all. Does that company come to your campus? How do you reach, and maybe they're coming for an engineer job and you're marketing. Try to get that meeting, get that free pizza that they're giving away, and meet with them. And then if not, then what alums got internships at that company that you want to be at? Ask them how they got it. Again, especially that college connection for a lot of people is pretty deep. It's like, hey, I'm about to graduate. I just graduated. I graduated 20 years ago. How did you get in to your company? And what do you think I should do? So reach out to people that have those jobs, the recruiters. It's always hard as a recruiter. You get someone, hey, I'm looking for a job. Do you have any jobs for me? It's like, we've got a job. Why don't you look first and tell me what you're interested in? I'm not hired to get you a job. I'm hired to fill an opening. You tell me what opening you're looking at. Maybe I can help, maybe I can't. But it's so as a recruiter, you always get the connection request and like, hey, I'm looking. It's like, well, I don't recruit there. I don't recruit for that anymore. It's interesting, but it's I'd rather have someone say, hey, I just saw opening 59867 marketing manager. What can you tell me, or how can you help me? And sometimes you can, and sometimes you can't. But if you're willing to put the energy into looking up what jobs are out there, what kind of employee are you going to be? So it's, especially if it's a bigger company, they all post their jobs, and there's, there's secret jobs. Well, those secret jobs, they don't need applicants. They're looking for people. They know the type of people they want. They don't need people to apply to it. So.
Wow. Seriously, I'm speechless, because your wit, wisdom, and the depth of insights that you provided us is surely, immeasurable. I've had a great time. It was brilliant.
I hope someone finds value in it. I get on my soapbox once in a while, but it's interesting. When I was being interviewed for this latest position, it was really weird to be on the other side of the desk. So it gives me a little more empathy. And I want people to have jobs they like. So
I had a lot of fun talking to you today. So the last thing that I want to ask you is any words of motivation for people who are listening to us? Anything for people who are stepping into the career path? Or
yeah, I think that if you can help someone else out, it'll come back around to you.
Wow.
And so I mean, it's not unique. It's not, but I think the longer you're in the business, the more you'll find that's true, that if you can help that person out, I mean, and you can't all the time, sometimes you just don't have the time, you don't have the expertise, but it's when I left Apple, I posted on Facebook that I was retiring, and there were a number of people that, I'll be honest, I didn't remember who they were because it's been 15 years. Retail's pretty busy, but it's like, you're the first person at Apple I talked to in 7 years, 7 years ago, and I'm still here, or 3 years ago, and I moved on to here from this experience I got. It was just so, I have to thank them for saying those things, because sometimes you wonder, it's like, geez, did any of these people ever get hired? Or, and to hear from them that they've had careers and the things that come with that, because I look back at when I was looking and got hired by Apple. I was really lucky. The things it did for me and my family, having, and Apple is wonderful, but just, going to work for a good company that paid well and treated their people right, quite frankly, changed my life for the better. And if you try to keep that in mind when you're able to help people, because you never know what's going to turn it around for somebody. So I guess that's, and if you're looking for a job, keep trying, be nice about it. And, because we all need them. Most of us anyway need a job, for hopefully not forever, but for a period of time. So it's, everyone's gonna be in that spot sooner or later. So it's, start early. If you think you're gonna have to look, start early. And, the nice thing about that is maybe someone will find you before you're looking. So. Yeah, I had a great time. This is a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. This is my first one. I've never done one of these before, so
There'll be many more to come, I'm sure. And I see that you've touched lives, and you're an inspiration already. I'm certain that our viewers will get greatly benefited by listening to this entire bit of wisdom that you have enlightened us with. Thank you so much, Tim. We love having you on Industry Inspired Talk. And this brings us to the end of podcast for the day. I'm sure you enjoyed. If you watched the video until now, I'm certain you've gained a lot of valuable insights through the journey, through the talk. We will provide Mr. Tim Esse's contact details in the description down below, so that you can get in touch with him for anything with respect to recruitment. Now, do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel, so that you get an access to more such videos where we bring, where we host more such industry leaders, so that you can advance in your career journey faster. All the very best. Keep learning, keep inspiring, and keep being inspired. Thank you.